just a little over 2 months before the kickoff of Niagara's 2022 Canada Summer Games. Tickets went on sale this week for the various events to take place August 6th through 21st across the region. Games Chair Doug Hamilton has dropped by. Doug, how do the tickets work? Is it a sport-by-sport basis, day-by-day basis?
So ticketing, we've come out with different packages at different times. So we started off with really a games package for people who are coming from out of town and they wanted to buy sort of 2 weeks of the games, and we sort of finished that tranche. Our current tranche is going out with sort of all-week sport passes and sort of group passes for either a particular sport or for a day. And then we'll go to individual events as the next stage. So there will be lots of tickets for sale for, as we get right up to the day of the events for individual days. But if you're interested in going to a full week of basketball, for example, then you can buy those tickets right now.
And that's the same for something like rowing. I could buy a 1 week pass for rowing.
That's right.
Do any of the sports last for longer than a week as far as the schedule goes?
They do. So no one athlete stays for more than 1 week, but as an example, lacrosse, we have men's lacrosse 1 week and women's lacrosse a second week.
Right.
Same for basketball and those types of sports. So there's a number of sports where you have men or women 1 week or the other week. And so you could go to watch 2 weeks of lacrosse if you wanted to watch it in that way.
So if I was a parent of someone on the lacrosse team, I would have to buy a ticket for the 1 week if that's what I wanted to do.
For the 1 week, that's right.
And that's a question I know you fielded. Are parents of athletes getting free tickets? And I understand they're not.
No, they're not. So people are coming to Niagara. They're paying their own way here. They're paying for their rooms and accommodation if you're a family, and you're also paying for your tickets.
If we're a local fan and we want to come out and maybe watch rowing, or we want to watch tennis in Welland or Niagara on the Lake, when do we get to find out who the athletes are that might be coming from the various provinces?
So a lot of the athletes are being selected by their host province or territory now. And so particularly because of COVID, a lot of the selection processes by the provincial organizations have been delayed a little bit. So as an example, the Ontario track and field team is, I understand, being picked when they come to Niagara 3 or 4 weeks before the games and having a meet.
So they'll actually have a qualifying meet sort of thing at the new track?
Yeah, so a lot of these athletes have to qualify in their home province or territory before they can make their provincial team, and then they come here as their provincial team.
That's incredible. When you put this all together, logistically speaking, we know about the 5,000 volunteers, but what else goes on behind the scenes?
So it's quite complex. It's a little bit of a multi-armed organization. So you've got each of the national sport organizations are involved in hosting each of the 18 sports that we're hosting during the games. So you've got each, as an example, Rowing Canada organizing the rowing meet. You've got each of the provincial or territorial teams with a mission staff, and they're organizing their entire team, and they're all coming in as mission teams. So you've got, if you're a member of the Ontario rowing team, you're also a member of Team Ontario, and you're grouped with all of the other Ontario athletes, and they're coming in as a whole team. And then we've got our whole sort of team of local volunteers. We've got about 400 planning volunteers who have been involved for the last 2 or 3 years. And then we have 5,000 games time volunteers. So it's quite a complex organization.
When you look at those teams coming in, they all have to stay somewhere. Are they all staying up at Brock?
They are. So, I mean, for the most part. So the athletes and mission teams are all staying at Brock University, about 2,500 each week, so 5,000 total over the 2 weeks. Then we have a team of officials coming in. So you've got about 500 major technical officials, which are people that are involved in organizing and officiating each of the events. And they'll be staying at Niagara College. And then together with those 500 major technical officials, we'll have all sorts of other local officials that'll be supporting in a number of different ways.
And you as games chair and your team, are you responsible for transporting them from Niagara College to the venues, from Brock to the venues?
Yep, I got to do a lot of driving. So no, so we have a transportation team, again, made up of planning volunteers. Jerry McElhone, who's our transportation chair. He's got a team of both staff as well as volunteers that are organizing our transportation. We've got to get them from the airports to Niagara. We've got to get their equipments from the airports to Niagara and back again. And then we've got to make sure our athletes get around in Niagara. Together with our athletes, we've got our officials. We've got to get them to and from their venues and to and from Niagara College. And then we've got a number of VIPs coming in, and so we have to run a shuttle program for our VIPs. And so it's quite a big undertaking, just transportation alone.
It's a staggering amount of planning goes into this.
There is, yeah.
Where are we as far as the improvements to the rowing course at Henley?
The rowing course improvements are basically done. So the new Henley Rowing Center, we're just waiting for some improvements to be made to a couple doors. We're facing a couple supply chain issues in having those delivered from Europe in this case. But the new Henley Rowing Center is just about done.
There was an announcement, a legacy announcement earlier this week.
The Niagara Community Foundation, and in particular the David S. Howe's Fund, have funded our sport performance equipment for the new Sport Performance Center at Canada Games Park. They made their largest grant ever, which was $655,000. It's a grant that will fund sport training and sport testing equipment for young athletes that will train at the Sport Performance Center at Canada Games Park into the future. And that Sport Performance Center will now be called the David S. Howe Sport Performance Center.
That's a huge boost to that center.
It's a huge boost to the center. It's a huge boost to young athletes in Niagara. So one of the things that center is going to do is partner with the Canadian Sport Institute network, which we have in Canada. People who are familiar with the sports system will know that we have this system of sport institutes across the country. And those sport institutes deliver high performance sport training and testing programs for young athletes who are aspiring to be on our Olympic teams or to achieve international success.
We don't have anything like that for our local athletes.
We have nothing like that in Niagara, and this will be our opportunity to join into that network.
Yes.
And for a young Niagara athlete to have an opportunity to train with the best sport trainers and sport med and sport psychologists and nutrition people in the country will be a huge opportunity.
It won't be sport specific. It's more general fitness, general training.
Yes. So regardless of what sport you're participating in, whether you're a young lacrosse player or a young gymnast or a diver or any of those sports, you'll be able to train at this center, to get testing at this center with our top sport professionals in the country.
You still have the storefront at the Penn Center open for is that also the volunteer drop-in center still?
Yes, so our Meridian Volunteer Center, which will form it's really doing two things. It's our uniform distribution center. It's also our accreditation center, and it's where we're training and recruiting our team of volunteers.
Doug, just the fact that the tickets are on sale now and the word is getting out about them, it's really making this feel more real right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's becoming real quickly. We've got countdown clock going, and we continue to watch the minutes and hours tick off, and there's a lot happening behind the scenes. We're a little bit like a duck with. We're trying to appear calm on the surface, but there's a lot of activity going on underwater. So,
Doug, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for all your support.